right now?
Yes, we are live now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Oxford Bookstore's Digital Conversations. We bring to you this very special book, Ghost Hunter Gaurav Tiwari by Abhirup Dhar and Indian Paranormal Society. The book is published by Westland Publications. Abhirup Dhar is the author of the Hold That Breath series, the Belvoir Brook Haunting, Stories Are Magical, and Once Again with Love. His latest book is Ghost Hunter Gaurav Tiwari, which set a record by being accurate for screen adaptation before its release. All his horror outings have sparked bestseller charts and met with tremendous acclaim. He is also a screenwriter now, which calls him the most acclaimed name in Indian horror writing. In conversation with Abhirup Dhar, today we have with us Alan Taylor, Waqar Raj, and Meghna Pungal. Alan Taylor is an award-winning paranormal historian from Australia, considered one of the most experienced and respected ghost hunters in the country, which has seen him recently employed by Australian government department to research 3 haunted cities in the state of South Australia. Alan has been seen globally on worldwide international television show Haunting Australia, which has a large cult following. Alan Taylor has also been interviewed in Australian news programs, Today Tonight, SLI, and most recently on Studio 10. Alan is also a published author and the only Australian paranormal investigator honored with 2 places in the Australian Federal Government National Library of Australia, Pandora Archives, for his extensive research work. Waqar Raj is an engineer turned businessman based at Delhi. Reverend Gaurav Tiwari appointed him as the technical head of Indian Paranormal Society in 2012. Featured in many news channels along with Gaurav while solving many cases, paranormal investigation became his passion. He has been a key driving factor for the team after Gaurav's passing away. He also runs a most famous YouTube channels on parapsychology, which is followed by many. Meghna Pungal is a content writer by profession and paranormal investigator by passion. She is the evidence analyst and the team's official photographic documentation officer. Over to you, Abhirup, to take the discussion forward today.
Thank you, Ritlina. Thank you so much for the warm introduction and welcome. We'd like to thank Oxford Bookstore for this lovely opportunity given to us. Thank you, Westland Books. Thank you, Suhail Mathur of the Book Breakers for representing the book. This is an important book and we are glad that this book is out. The book released on 2nd of September and it's got a terrific response, initial response. So I'll not waste time, I'll come to the conversation straight away. My first question is for Alan. Hi Alan, how are you?
Hello, good, thank you. Yourself?
Thank you for taking out time. I know it's late night where you are.
Yep.
Thank you so much for taking out time for this important session. My first question is for you, Alan. You have written the foreword and the final word in this book. When I got your lines first, when I got this particular document from you and I read your lines, I was a little moist-eyed. It had vivid descriptions of the times, the good times you spent with Gaurav Tiwari. Could you let us know, since you were very close to him, what was his visions related to Indian Paranormal Society and what did he want to do in India in terms of parapsychology? What obstacles he faced or was facing?
So I think what he was trying to do was bring the paranormal to India and take away the skepticism. So all around the world, the hardest thing for most paranormal investigators is to break through the wall of the academic community, which is the community that's the most skeptical of all. And I believe that he was making huge inroads into that. He got invited to do a TED talk over there, and we had talked about doing a TED talk here, or a style of TED talk here in Australia and New Zealand, which I do believe we covered in the book. The other big problem that I think he faced in India, which isn't quite such a big problem here, is that ghosts are such a taboo subject over there. And you know, he broke down a lot of walls towards people coming to accept ghosts as real. He broke down walls to do with superstition, and he made the paranormal something that you can talk about much more freely in India, and there's no shame in it anymore, which you know there was before, and there's less worry about religious persecution related to the paranormal because of what Gaurav did over there.
Mhm. Walker, my next question is for you. Hi, how are you? Raj?
Mhm.
Raj, you happen to be an important part of Indian Paranormal Society, and you have been with it since its inception, or maybe a few months or few years after it was founded by Gaurav Tiwari. You are basically a businessman by profession. So my first question is a very simple one. How come a businessman got into paranormal investigation? How did this happen when you met Gaurav Tiwari? What exactly was the effect Gaurav Tiwari must have had in you that you became a paranormal investigator? And tell us something about your journey so far.
Well, that's very interesting. I was into sell of equipment like IR cameras, thermal imaging equipments. I'm into say high-tech surveillance equipment, and I used to put ads on Google related to some products. Even when I saw some program on Discovery channels, there I saw some sorts of equipment are being used in USA. But at that time, I was a complete disbeliever. Means ghost means if some people say ghost, I used to say them get some treatment here. Okay, but this kind of thing made me import those equipments, and I was making advertisement. One day, I got a mail from Gaurav Tiwari. He was in need of some infrared cameras. Uh, Behind his name, I mean to say bottom of the mail, he had mentioned that he is a paranormal investigator and pilot. So these two combination made me very confused. How could be a pilot become a para investigator or para investigator become a pilot? I replied him. I welcomed him in my office. He came with other two guys named Saurabh Singh. Right now he is first captain in some airline in India, domestic airline.
It was a part of GRIP, I believe.
He was, but due to his busy schedule, he was not able to, about pilot schedule. He had made a lots of discussion related to ghost, and his discussion was very technical, like EVPs. I found him very interesting, but he wanted those item for I mean to say rental. He wanted a rental kind of thing. I had made him available those item, but after 3, 4, 5 days when he was returning that item, he had paid me some amount like 25,000. That was a rental amount. But my heart didn't allow to take that money. I said, Gaurav bhai, you're doing very good work for society. You are killing a sort of irrational fear. He used to say that. Why don't you keep this thing and take this as my donation? Due to that, he got very close to me, and even on phone we used to discuss about these ghosts, paranormal, CVPs, and slowly I was I'm into much into that. A kind of interest was building
Your
inside me.
passion and you started
Yeah,
following.
yeah, yes,
You have been balancing it along with your profession right now.
yes. And he announced me as a technical head at that time. But related to investigation, I was like zero. Since 2013, I was into active investigations in locations like Kuldhara and many places along with Gaurav. So this is the story how I came close to him. But
And that's mentioned in the book as well.
yeah, one thing I would like to mention, at least for me, he was, I say he is, I always say he is my best friend. Yeah, he is my best friend. He is known as a para investigator for world, but for me, he is my best friend.
We know that. We know that.
Yeah.
Meghna, my question is for you. So just
Yeah.
like Raj was a non-believer
Mm.
and he became a believer later, coming in touch with Gaurav Tiwari, and he met him and they became friends and they started working together. So I for one know that you also had an incident in your life which kind of transformed you completely, right? It transformed you, and then you met Gaurav Tiwari. You probably looked him up on the internet, and then you met him. You got in touch with him. So you've got two people here, Raj and Meghna, who might have been non-believers earlier, along with Gaurav Tiwari, who was also training to be a commercial pilot in Florida, and something happened, and then he could not explain it to himself, and he was shocked at the age of 23, that how can such a thing happen with me, and I don't believe in ghosts and spirits. So did something like this happen with you as well, Meghna? Because for you it's a very personal incident, and we may not want to talk about it here, but then it's mentioned in the book. So how do you look at it, Meghna?
Well, I was actually always a believer in the spirit realm and ghosts and everything, because when we were growing up as kids, our parents used to tell us their experiences, what they experienced. My mom was a nurse. She was working and training in a very famous hospital in Bombay. So she used to tell us her experiences of the hospital being haunted and incidents happening there. And my dad used to tell us about what experiences he used to have in his home. So in his native place, so we have those big bungalows with terraces and all. So he used to always tell us that how he used to hear things on the terrace, like, anklets ringing and things like that. So I was always a believer, but I never actually got into dwelling. I did not go much deep into it, because it was really, that was just it. That was the stories for us. But what changed completely for me, and I thought that, let's just get into it and see what it is all about, was like we've mentioned in the book, after I lost my dad, 1 year after his passing, I saw him, and that's what changed everything for me. That's how I said. And of course, then we used to, my mom and I, and by the time my mom and I, then we had got into a lot of watching all these ghost series on TV, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and things like that. So I was like, I wonder if there is anything like this here this will be something so amazing to do, So, and I saw MTV Girls Night Out then. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I got in touch with the team that was heading the MTV Girls Night Out. And that's when I saw, so the first thing I Googled was paranormal teams in India. And that's when Indian Paranormal Society came up as the very first team. And then I said, okay, let me just get in touch with them. And then I saw that they were the ones who were actually doing Girls Night Out. And so I emailed Gaurav, and then he replied. I was amazed, actually. I was just awestruck. I said, this can't happen. So I was not expecting.
No, your expressions, you were totally in awe of him.
Absolutely. Even when I first met him.
I was introduced to paranormal investigation.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
And
absolutely.
You were part of it. Raj, you were a part of it. So, a lot to listen to you, a lot to hear from you, a lot more to hear from you. Alan, you were a part of Haunting Australia, which has a cult following, and Gaurav was a part of this, tour, right? So we have watched the episodes. Most of us have got a cult following, and in the same way, Gaurav Tiwari himself enjoyed a cult following, still does. Even I prefer to, call him as he is, and he's not he was, he's not past tense for me as well. He is, so he still has a cult following, in terms of people following him in India, the paranormal enthusiasts who look up to him. He's like God for them, So I know the kind of craziness I've faced it myself. So Raj and Meghna know about it. He also enjoys a lot of, adulation abroad internationally, right? What do you think is the importance of a book like Ghost Hunter Gaurav Tiwari internationally? Is it relevant there? Because it's about Gaurav Tiwari, who's from India, and he wanted to make a difference in India, and he pioneered the first paranormal Research Society here. How relevant is this book and his works abroad? As per
Well,
you, according to you.
Well, as you said, he has a huge following around the world. He has a massive following here in Australia. People absolutely loved him on the show. Everyone who met him said he was the nicest man they'd ever met. He radiated spirituality and kindness. And I think this book, part of what it does is it breaks down the language barriers, because often he would do videos that were in Hindi, and over here, English is the first language. Most people here, unless they're from India, don't speak Hindi. So, this book, it's the first time really the English speaking world gets to hear his story. And it's through your narrative, obviously, that happens. And also the fact that these are stories from his own case files. They're stories from his friends and his colleagues, Raj and Meghna and other people. And I don't believe his teachings will ever be irrelevant. Through his nature and his strong self-belief, he has started a cult following. He is a cult symbol, not just in India. He's a cult symbol here in Australia as well. And as long as people like all of us keep his words alive, I think his teachings are going to remain as relevant now as when he said them the first time around. And I'd like to thank you for all of you for bringing this book to the fore and helping keep his name out there and his name alive, especially here in Australia, because Haunting Australia was a big show here, but obviously that's been, I think, 7 years, I believe, since we aired over here.
I still watch the episodes.
Yep. People love that show. And what I'd actually really would like to see in Australia is MTV Girls Night Out aired here, so more people can see what he did. But hopefully there's a lot of Australians watching this evening. It's late here in Australia. It's almost 11 o'clock in Sydney. It's 10:30 here in Adelaide. But if anyone is watching, head on over to the Indian Paranormal Society website or to the YouTube. And there's absolutely a ton of videos featuring Gaurav and everyone else that's mentioned in the book. So definitely worth checking out.
Noted. Thank you for the insight. Raj, you run one of the most famous and popular paranormal research YouTube channels called Paranormal and Science, which has got a mammoth following. Each time I log in on YouTube, I see a video posted by you, and it's got people who are following you religiously. How do you think is Indian Paranormal Society and the work you do here, or maybe on a more general level, how do you think paranormal investigation in India is different from paranormal investigation done abroad? And what do you think is the general perception among people in India about paranormal investigation? You have a cult following as well. People do follow you. Hence, I asked you this question.
Regarding India, it's very tough. See what we do. Like I am representing Gaurav Tiwari or IPS, Indian Paranormal Society. We try to make a bridge between the existence and the superstition. There are two different things. There are two kind of people who blindly believes in bhoots, chudail, dain, okay, which is our cultural belief.
So I'll interrupt you here. Bhoot pisach hote hai kya? Are there ghosts? What do you have to say?
Ghosts तो definitely होते हैं. They do exist. Regarding Pishach, we can say Pishach is something like a demon, which Alan will explain better. Okay, and if there would have been some Pakistani expert, he would have said that jinn. Okay, but metaphysical property of all these three are same as per me. They have got almost same power. So there are two kind of people who abruptly believes on everything, and one section is no, these are fake things. These are fake things, nothing happens, you people are befooling us. So in India, it's quite difficult to make a bridge on reality. But still we are doing, and time has changed a lot. Gaurav faced lots of problem in his initial days. Lots of resistance from dharma gurus and all.
Absolutely.
So this is the basic problem in India what we face.
I believe there is a question. It says, knowledge cancels fear. How will you explain this quote in your way? I believe the question is for me. So it was a philosophy which Gaurav Tiwari believed in, you know, and when Gaurav Tiwari set up this particular society called Indian Paranormal Society, it was GRIP first, and then it was Indian Paranormal Society which came into existence, and it became the first paranormal research society of India in 2009. He was clear about one thing: he'll have a very scientific approach towards his work, towards busting supernatural myths. And the idea was not to determine that ghosts exist. The idea was to determine that ghosts don't exist, and we will have a scientific approach and prove it if it does. Correct me if I'm wrong, Meghna, Raj, Alan.
Yes, sir.
That was the idea behind setting up Indian Paranormal Society.
You are right.
And for that, knowledge matters, which is what is the crux of the matter in Indian Paranormal Society. And that's why he quoted knowledge cancels fear. That's how it is, Ritlina. I believe this was a question from you. So coming back to Raj, so we were talking about how different is the Indian paranormal investigation scene compared to our Western counterparts. And we have someone like Alan Tiller here, who is one of the leading paranormal investigators in the world himself. What is this discussion between you and Alan?
Exactly. I don't think there is a basic difference in investigation done by foreign investigators and ours. The only difference is language. Okay. We also try to, our focus is like 80% on scientific approach and some psychological approach rather than creating stories, false stories. We have clearly, I mean to say, experienced and seen that due to very extreme heavy electromagnetic field, people are getting hallucinated. Even I have seen a case where a microwave was malfunctioning. Its seal got broke down, and due to that, very heavy magnetic field interruption was there. And inside the kitchen, a lady used to feel that someone is watching us and someone is trying to push her. But there was nothing like ghost or something. So we believe in these kind of thing. That will be very bad if we prove everywhere bhoot exists, ghost exists. That will be very bad. So we try to debunk the thing. If some client calls us, we try to debunk the thing. But yeah, if we record something unusual on our equipment, and rarely it happens that someone has personal, I mean to say, feeling, or someone has personal experience. That is very rare. I don't know. Some people are very sensitive to that, but some are not.
Okay. Meghna, so, when I started off writing this book, and, you were a part of it, and you were reading the first draft and second draft, one thing we kind of had arguments upon, we had arguments, even, which was for the good. It was for the better, not for the worse, for sure. And what I understood is that, paranormal investigation is a completely scientific approach. You've got the scientific instruments, you've got EVP, you've got EMF, you've got, infrared.
Yeah.
You've got cameras, night vision cameras, and that's how we determine the truth,
Correct.
But when we write a book or when we watch a movie, people like to read about ghosts. People like to see or watch ghosts. So a movie like Conjuring, for instance, which is based on Ed and Warren Lauren, right? The Conjuring series, which is so famous. It's all about ghosts. It's all about psychics. It's all about, you see something is happening. But how, true is that in real life? Number one. Okay, this is the first question. I'll come to the second question.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, I think maybe we should write a book on all the arguments and indifferences that we had.
Okay.
But understandably so, real and real is completely different. Because we're writing a book or we're showing something on TV. So understandably, there has to be taken some kind of creative liberties. But
So I've taken a few creative liberties, very few and far between, to make the
Yeah.
experience good, right? So how do you see that as well? Since you're from a paranormal investigation field, and you
Yeah.
are also a reader, you're also an avid reader. When you read a book which is about paranormal investigation, but there are certain creative liberties the writer has taken
Hmm.
to make the reading experience better and more enhanced? How do you look at it, rationally?
I know it's a little difficult now to look at it rationally because we've been in this field for such a long time now. So everything that we look at is we have an explanation for it. But what happens now, if I have to look at from a layman's perspective, then I understand, yes. But then I'm starting to think, does it really actually happen? As a paranormal investigator, a lot of times we don't, like Raj said,
That's something
personal.
like what is shown in the Conjuring series does
Yeah.
not happen in real life.
Not really. Like Raj just said, personal experiences are few to none. Very rarely you will capture a full-bodied apparition, or you will see a full-bodied apparition.
So you don't
Yeah,
see
so
students, you don't see, a lady in white, or maybe a
I
lady-
have, I have
That-
never experienced. No,
that's not because
I have never
I'm
experienced.
a total horror buff, apart from being a horror writer, I'm a total horror buff, and it's been my childhood wish to see a ghost, but I've failed miserably. I've never been able to see a ghost. I've been to haunted houses, I've been to haunted locations, I used to live in deserted places when I was a child, but never got to see a ghost in real. I tried to call ghosts, nothing happened. Nothing of that sort happened because I've never been a part of any paranormal investigation, yet. But I'd love to be a part of maybe the next case you guys go to, but nothing of that sort happens. Meghna, Raj, Alan, in real
Not
life.
really. I mean, I don't know if Alan has ever experienced a full-bodied apparition, or a lady in white with a white sari and long hair and take a lantern and going around. No, I have never experienced it. These phenomenons are very rare, and to capture it on our equipment is even rarer. It's just, if you actually capture it, it's like we call the holy grail of the paranormal, but so far we have not captured anything as such. I have a few evidences that we've seen, but those came out only after we sat and we did evidence analysis, and then we saw that, okay, there is something on the camera. But besides seeing my father
Yeah.
as plain as day,
In the book,
I have
and,
never seen anything else.
I heard about this incident, I had, fear gushing out, and it is one of the most important parts in the book. So I've, mentioned a lot about all of you, and, I had this question a few days ago from someone who took my interview, that you have tried to humanize the paranormal investigators in your book. How different are they from normal people? I said they are normal as well. What's the difference? It's just that they have a different passion altogether. And especially in a country like India, where you have to be a doctor, you have to be an engineer, you have to be an MBA, you have to be a banker. It's all it's all very common. It's not
Yeah.
when you have something different happening. Someone wants to be a writer, someone wants to be a paranormal investigator. People think twice before acknowledging you. Right. So is it the same abroad in Australia, Alan? Is this kind of a thing happening there as well, where people want you to be an MBA or a doctor or an engineer and not a paranormal investigator, because it's not common. It's not what everyone does. Just wanted to understand this from you.
It's very similar. Here people strive to be doctors and all that kind of stuff as well. But there's a big kind of undercurrent of paranormal investigators here in Australia, and it probably happens in India as well. When there's a new ghost hunting show, like a new season of Ghost Adventures, there's all of a sudden there's this big rise, and there's lots of new teams out there and new people, and obviously people fade away after a while because they don't get the evidence that they thought they were going to get, so they drop off. But other people will pick up the baton and start ghost hunting. But it's still not mainstream, and I don't think it ever will be mainstream, purely because at least half the population, as Raj said before, are skeptics, and at least half of the believers, and the ones that aren't either on the fence. They don't really fall either way, and I think that's part of the reason why it's never been mainstream. But movies like the Warrens movies, obviously bring us back out into the mainstream again, and then people seek us out. And obviously, next month is Halloween. People around the world think it's an American thing, but it's actually from Europe. It's from Ireland, but it is celebrated here in Australia as well. Not at the levels that the Americans do, obviously, but it's starting to pick up. People are starting to give more respect to paranormal investigators because the field's changing. We're not just people out there looking for ghosts with crazy equipment anymore. There's actually people out there now who have degrees. So you have scientists actually looking into paranormal subjects now. There's parapsychology, which has become mainstream. There's historians and all these other fields now where people are picking up the baton. In England at the moment and happening here in Australia, there's a thing called apotropaic magic, which is house magic to protect you from evil spirits. And we have at least 2 PhD professors who are researching and writing books about that here in Australia. So, you know, the paranormal is starting to get more respect. And I think that's very important that, you know, we keep striving for that respect, and more people that are doctors or researchers with degrees start coming into the field and giving us that legitimacy. And hopefully India will be one of the big growth areas, because you have a huge amount of people over there who are starting to find the paranormal and starting to investigate. And you have a great deal of teams that are starting to become very noticed around the world. And obviously that all started with Grav. So kudos to him, because he's really kicked it off over there, and hopefully it'll just keep going and will become more mainstream and more accepted.
Okay, there is a question from Raj and Meghna from the audience. It says, I have a small request to Raj and Meghna. If you guys can give brief on Bhangar Fort investigation, which is only mentioned in this book. So I know Gaurav Tiwari had a different, take on Bhangar compared to other paranormal investigators. It's supposed to be the most haunted place in India, but Reverend Gaurav Tiwari said that it's not a haunted place. So maybe this question is for Raj and Meghna. You are the better people to answer this. So any one of you or both of you?
I think Raj would be in a better position to answer this because he's been to Bhangar multiple times with Gaurav. Unfortunately, I never got the chance to go to Bhangar, but for the dozens of times that Gaurav has investigated that place, I'm going to go with his word saying that it is not haunted. But I think Raj will give a first-hand experience of what Bhangar actually is.
Okay. As per me, I had been to Bhangar several times with Gaurav. That's right. We have never captured anything unusual there. Like people used to say, statues are walking in night. Okay, and what you say? Birds flying through Bhangar, their wings get burnt. Okay. These kind of stories are being related to Bhangar. Yeah, Bhangar is definitely a dangerous place. The reason is that it's very deserted, and in night no one is allowed. That is ASI protocol, Archaeological Survey of India protocol. Okay, Suryast and sunset. I mean to say Suryodaya, sunset and sunshine. Most of the ASI property are being protected like that. No one can enter in at night. It's dangerous because of reptiles. It's little bit more dangerous because Riska Tiger Reserve is very close to Bhangar. I think hardly it's 30-40 kilometers, and as I know, the territorial region of tiger is around 70 to 80 kilometers. So these are the factors associated with Bhangar, which is horror, but there is nothing paranormal. We have never found anything.
At all in Bhangar. Okay. So, Raj, according to you, which is the most haunted location in India that you and Gaurav have investigated? As per you, because Siddharth is the other, IPS member. There is Rit as well. There is Mohan. Would like to mention all their names. So Siddharth tells me that Mukesh Mills is the most haunted location according to him. And that's also mentioned in the book. But according to you, which is the most haunted location? Raj?
Actually, I missed that Mukesh Mill investigation in 2014 due to
Yes, that's
some
been mentioned.
personal reason. Yeah.
I know.
Regarding that public places like Mukesh Mills, like Kuldhara, Lambidhar, I would rate Kuldhara as number one. It's not like people get slapped there because we have faced equipment damage multiple times. Multiple time we have faced equipment damage. And yeah, it's not good for alone, especially in night, because huge amount of energy is present there, and it's up to you or up to someone else how they are interacting. Are they making fun of them? Are they trying to challenge them? Are they trying to abuse them? Then things may go wrong.
One thing
As
I've learned from all of you, while working on this book is that we need to be empathetic towards spirits. They were also living once upon a time. They also lived. Now they're dead. They are, they're very attached to the physical world because of unwanted, desires, or they, have some kind of an unfulfilled desire. But we need to be empathetic towards them. That's what is mentioned in the book as well. And that's what Raj just mentioned to us. What about a place like Lambi Dehar, which is very interesting.
Lambi Dehar has, I believe, it that has got residual haunting. I think you already mentioned about residual haunting in your book. Yeah.
As well.
There is, we don't found anything like very intelligent kind of communication there. Yeah, in night time you will feel like, just a minute.
There are people here who may not know the different kinds of hauntings. So what is the residual?
See, in night time you may feel like, I'm talking about Lambi there, that heavy machines are getting run. Very feeble sound you will be able to hear, but for that you will have to concentrate. If you go with 5-6 people and making noise and fun, then you won't be able to pick that. And what was your question? I missed.
So I was asking what exactly is residual haunting?
Residual haunting is something like that is associated with a place where something weird, something very sad happened once. It's just like some sort of event in a particular day or particular time. That also depends on moon phase also. That will play like a reel again and again.
Okay.
And I am explaining you, it's just like watching a horror movie in theater and you are getting scared yourself. Okay. If you want to interact with the movie, nothing will happen, but you will be getting scared due to sounds and you have experienced something. That is called residual haunting.
Got it. So it's more like a loop kind of a thing, which keeps on repeating.
Yeah.
Just,
And,
yeah, loop
mentioned
kind of thing.
in the book, and it's also mentioned in the next book which is coming up. So Meghna, my next question is for you. You know that we all know, and everyone knows that GHGT. That's how I'm calling it now. GHGT, Ghost Hunter Gaurav Tiwari, is being made into a major web series. This book, which is represented by Suhail Mathur of the Book Bakers, published by Westland, among the best publishing houses in the country, is being made into a major web series by none other than the producer of Gangs of Wasseypur, who is Manu, Shahid, and so many movies, Mr. Sunil Bohra and Ms. Praveen Sandhu. And it's being directed by one of the directors of Scam 92, which is one of the best web series ever made in India. It's being scripted by one of the script writers of the same web series, Mr. Saurabh Dey. So we all know that, a major web series is going to happen, and, they're already working on it. How do you think, Meghna, a web series on Gaurav Tiwari will be received by his cult fan following, A, and the common people? And there are so many people who are probably aware of Gaurav Tiwari, but they don't know him much, because they probably belong to a different generation. Raj keeps reiterating in his YouTube channel that the new generation should know someone like Gaurav Tiwari. Right, Raj?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right?
You are right.
Now, how do you think a web series, a book, okay, fine, it's getting a terrific response, and we are getting a string of messages through IPS, through different social media handles. But what do you think is the importance of a web series and how will it be received? Meghna, the question is for you.
I think hopefully it will be received just as with the same enthusiasm as the book has been received. Um,
That's
I'm just hoping that first of all, thank you everyone who has been involved in the book and in the web series who are working on the web series. But I just hope I'm just hoping that it stays very close, as close to the book as possible. I understand creative liberties once again, but I'm hoping like
adaptation, so we have to, be
absolutely yes. But it's a good way for people to know who Gaurav is. He is the first person in the country to bring paranormal to India. If he would not have had those experiences when he was in Florida, I don't think paranormal would have come to India, because it was only after him, when he formed Indian Paranormal Society, there were other teams that came up, and most of them trained under him. I'm sure Raj will vouch for that. There are a lot of people who trained under him and now have opened up their own teams. But it is very, very important, yes, for people in general, whether it's the younger generation or whether it's people who don't know about Gaurav, or even if they know about Gaurav, not everybody know him like we do. And hopefully through the book and through the web series, they will know Gaurav the way we know him, the way we have known him for so many years.
Meghna, I'll interrupt you. There is a question for you.
Yeah.
The audience asks, Meghna, best para experience you had till now, which you can never forget? This is one of the questions.
Yeah. Oh, I think we have discussed this in the book as well. So there was this case that we did in Bombay, a residential case, and not expecting it to be so active. I think before, for me personally, even before we reached the location, I started to feel certain things. I started to feel headaches, heaviness, nausea, and just absolutely completely drained out. My legs wouldn't move. But I just took it as saying that no, it's maybe I'm just tired. But as we kept approaching closer and closer to the location, that feeling kept getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And I knew instantly at that point of time, I'm not tired. It's something about the place which is, stopping me from going there. And for a good 5 to 10 minutes, we were just waiting down the building and contemplating, should we go up or not, But we went up there, and the things that started happening with us, our cameras just falling all over, doors getting locked, we getting locked inside rooms. And what happened afterwards, we finished the investigation and I came back home. When I started to go through all the footage that we had with us, something happened then. As I was looking through all the pictures that I had taken, almost like more than 500-600 images that I had taken with my camera, in a line of 4 or 5 images, I saw something manifest in the pictures. And I was really not expecting to see what I saw. And it totally changed my demeanor. I became absolutely aggressive. There was anger in me, and I was literally snapping at everyone in my house. I was at the extent that, my God, I'm living with people who are so irritating, that kind of feeling that I was getting. And I had not discussed this with anyone. So I called up Gaurav for some other work. And then he said, Meghna, why are you fumbling? I can't understand a word. I said, I'm not fumbling. I can hear myself, but why are you? He says, no, something is wrong. So tell me what happened. So I told him that, look, I was going through this evidence and this is what I saw. So what I saw was, in a series of pictures, I saw literally, if you say demon, if you say demon, there is one certain image that comes in your mind, uh, uh, ram face with big horns, horse hooves, legs, and that kind. And actually, that is exactly what I saw in those pictures. That changed me completely.
Yes, it is a very scary chapter. I must agree. And when I discussed
I
this particular incident with you, and you told me, I had goosebumps.
I cannot for the love of God remove that image from my mind, because if anybody tells me, I just know, I can see that thing. And strangely now, when I sit and look back at those pictures, I don't see anything. I don't see nothing in those pictures except for the first time that I saw, which changed. That was the most scariest experience that I had in any of our investigations.
We have
Yeah.
an audience question. It says, what was the actual reason behind the spirit of the boy in orange clothes, bacha haunting? Would someone like to answer this? Meghna or Raj? Raj, could you answer this?
Bacha haunting, actually, what was that? I forgot.
So bacha haunting is, of course, it's not a case where Gaurav was there physically. So I've taken up one or two cases where Gaurav actually mentored, the people through phone or through the internet, because he was so busy and he was traveling all over the world. He could not be at all the places at one time. So maybe he was somewhere, else when this particular haunting happened. And bacha haunting is something which happened in Bihar, and he got a call from a group of boys, young boys, who were pursuing, some higher studies there, and they were probably going to this place for a little vacation, where they met this, a little boy in orange, a t-shirt and orange half pant on the highway. So the actual reason behind this haunting is not known to anyone. It has happened twice. There is this road in Bihar. It's probably from Patna to Saharsa, where you see this little boy wearing an orange t-shirt and orange half pant, and it's very scary. When I heard this from Meghna and Siddharth, it's very scary. The actual reason is not known yet because Gaurav is not there physically, but there is this roadside restaurant owner, dhaba owner, who apparently told the group of boys that there was an accident uh, on the highway and this little boy lost his life, and he's been, you know, there for eternity. That's basically the reason behind the bacha haunting. It's not yet been solved. It's one of the unsolved cases. The other question is for Alan, which says, what is paranormal according to you? Alan, what is paranormal according to you?
So paranormal, it encompasses anything that we can't scientifically explain. So supernatural events, and supernatural is actually different to paranormal in that supernatural covers religious things like bilocation. If you haven't heard of bilocation, probably the greatest person that's associated with is Saint Padre Pio, who would be seen praying in Italy, and at the same time he'd be seen in Rome and in France and places like that. So he was in multiple places at the same time. Paranormal also encompasses UFOs, cryptozoology, which is your Bigfoots and your Yowies and all those kinds of things. So yeah, it pretty much comes down to science doesn't have an explanation for it, so therefore it fits into the category of paranormal, which includes ghosts, obviously.
Such a lovely definition and so simplified. Thank you so much. Raj, it's a forum which many people will be watching. If they're not watching now, I know for a fact that this particular video and this particular discussion will be watched by many people in the coming days. There's a lot of controversy surrounding this particular book, ever since we came out with the teaser, the first image, and then the cover. And, I have been getting a lot of things on Facebook Messenger. It's a controversial book. I've been getting questions about a lot of things, to which I have been telling them very calmly that please read the book, you'll have your answers. And there are certain answers we cannot give. It's surrounding Mr. Gaurav Tiwari's death. It's surrounding a lot of things, which happened in 2016, which had created a lot of fuss at that point of time. How do you see this, Raj? Because you are a very good friend of Reverend Gaurav Tiwari. You knew him well. How do you see all this? And is it unwanted for? Is it uncalled for? Is it required to have this kind of a hype or this kind of, uh, I'd say positivity or negativity both, because there is a section of people who will come up with a lot of trolling, a lot of things, they'll have a lot of comments. There will be a section of people who will come up with a lot of messages praying for him even now, because they know that he's still watching over us. But how do you see this entire scenario and this entire episode? Raj, the question is for you.
First of all, I would give thanks to you that you came up with a one of the mind-blowing book, and that is on GT Bhai, Gaurav Tiwari. See, still today, I am being hit by the questions from my audience about Gaurav's death. As per me and as per Delhi police investigations, that was a suicide. Hello, are you able to listen me?
Listen, absolutely.
Okay, that was a suicide. Okay, but one thing still haunts me. One question still haunts me. I was talking fine with him on WhatsApp on 6th July evening. He was quite fine. We had a plan for some party etc. next day because of a festival. But suddenly that got happened. See, when I talk to some people like Adhyatmic peoples, you must be knowing about spiritual. I am not talking about that YouTube spiritual, the real one, those who perform rituals in Himalayas and all. As per them, they said that in rare cases, such kind of energies can make a people depressed. In some rare cases. But this is not my final conclusion, I am telling you. That was a suicide. Okay. And that was up to police to find the reason behind this.
True. I agree.
I'll just interrupt you. It's a very interesting discussion. I'll come back to you here. Alan, you have a question. Do you believe in demons? Alan.
Interesting question.
That's my other question.
I'm a Catholic, so Catholicism has a lot of demons and angels. I have heard of cases of them. I've not come across anything myself, but I do believe that they are an absolute rarity if they do exist. They're not a spirit that you're ever going to come across in your lifetime for most people. And if they do exist, they're going to be in pockets of places that we're probably never going to come across, such as in the tunnels under Rome and in Israel. They're not going to be, in every second house like some ghost hunters seem to believe. That they're much rarer than that. So to answer your question, yes, I believe they do exist, but I believe they're an absolute rarity and they're not something that a general ghost hunter is ever going to experience.
Correct.
Coming back to Raj, let's talk about the mystery surrounding Reverend Gaurav Tiwari's death. As per you.
Sir, that's a very tough question. Simply, I know my belief said that a person of his essence will never choose to end himself like that. That's my personal belief. As I had spent lots of time with him. So his death is like a big loss for para investigations.
But you just said sometime back that it was a suicide. So
yeah, that was a suicide. See, that was a suicide. But I added one thing. See, I don't find myself a very well-known expert. Okay. There are lots of people who are doing things like from last 20-25 years. Some said that, yes, they can create a mindset, then people may get depressed. But this itself is a mystery.
So
I would like to add one thing about demon. As per me, demon, jinn, and Brang Rakshas, if they do exist, I believe they could be extraterrestrial.
Everyone has their own points of view, and we are entitled to our own opinions.
Yeah, because no one has even no one is able to capture the true incident. Yeah, I mean to say evidence related to such powers. No one. And Alan was very right that he had not seen. Most of the investigators, even in foreign, they say that yeah, they have seen and they fought with demon.
So again, we have a little difference of opinion here, but then that's perfectly okay. Meghna, so which is your favorite chapter in the book? I wanted to ask you this earlier, but then just thought I should ask you here in the open forum. We are having random questions now. But let's go to the floor.
My favorite chapter is definitely going to be the one where that incident that I just told you about. Because if it wasn't for Gaurav not being there for me at that point of time, I don't know if I would be able to. First of all, I would not have known what was happening to me, and I don't know if I would have been able to manage that situation. Because Gaurav coached me, Gaurav helped me. He taught me how to do cleansing of my own self, at that point of time, and he just guided me all the way through. So yeah, definitely. And of course, when we talk about our personal experiences with Gaurav and how we were with him when we used to meet him, and when you spoke about me seeing my dad, that was my experience. So those are the chapters that I really like. But entirely, actually, I love the whole book. I'm reading it again, so just to keep it in my mind.
Come up with a chapter and send it to you. Emotions, it's not about all the time, it's about.
That's what I was telling you.
So I totally understand the making of the book and the emotional attachment all of you have with Reverend Gaurav Tiwari. And
yeah,
I personally got so involved with the book. I personally started having an emotional connection myself. So everyone, Rit, Mohan, Siddharth, who's also an integral part. Suhail,
I think the one where we were discussing about Gaurav's passing and what we were doing at that point of time in our lives when we got the news of Gaurav passing. I think that was the most emotional chapter, because even now when I think about it, it just brings tears in my eyes, it just gets so emotional for me. So sitting and discussing all that with you was really heart-wrenching at that point of time.
And also part of the process, so I know. Raj, so the Indian Paranormal Society got a lot of media coverages when you and Gaurav used to investigate cases. You were a part of so many news channel coverages, ZTV, Z News, I don't know, whatnot, so many of them. But we know that the Indian Paranormal Society and Gaurav Tiwari himself, he faced so many obstacles running this particular society, and it was very difficult for him to sustain. So did the media coverages help in any way, and if it did, how did it help according to you?
Definitely media coverage had helped Gaurav a lot, because electronic media is a big platform itself, and it's not like Gaurav appeared only on 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 channels. He appeared on almost 50-60 channels.
Yes, absolutely.
But regarding news channels, there is an issue that some programs were okay, like the main anchor used to means anchor was what you say, neutral. They left everything on public. What's right or wrong, now you decide. But in some cases, news channel did a very wrong thing, that they had appointed dharam gurus in scientific.
I've watched some.
Yeah, and scientists, some scientists. But to be very frank with you, they had projected many as scientists, but they are not scientists.
Agreed. I've seen those episodes and I've seen how they attacked Gaurav Tiwari.
Yes, because I was not there. I had seen one of the program when one scientist was, so-called scientist was arguing about K2 meter EMF. But what he was explaining to anchor about HF antenna, high frequency antenna, that has no connection with K2 meter. At that time, I was not with Gaurav Tiwari. That's a long thing, long ago. See, media had definitely given him fame, but obstacles were like that. Some people used to make, yeah, troll him.
Come from paranormal, investigation.
Actually, they were not interested to show the evidences caught by him. He had a very good footage of thermal imaging he had from thermal in Meerut, but news channel was they were interesting. They were interested in showing that bahas, what you say,
The argument.
panel discussion. Yeah, they didn't allowed to insert the pen drive to their computer and show the things to the world.
Why was this? Why do you think this was done? I mean, why did they not want the world to see what happens in real?
Every media channel has got a, I mean to say, they have a standard that they cannot show these kind of things. Okay, some news channels have their own agenda. There was the first live program on Kuldhara, that was live. Okay, when Gaurav was asking, Gaurav and anchor had a very bad fight on live. I am telling you, on live, that was a bad argument. Gaurav was saying, "आप सच क्यों छुपाते हैं? आप क्यों नहीं दिखाना चाहते हैं?" And there were almost 25 people who came up from villages all around. That was a live program. That channel, I can't take name of that channel. They had uploaded that video on their official YouTube channel, but they had deleted within 15 days. When Gaurav says, "आप दुनिया को सच क्यों नहीं दिखाना चाहते?" on live, he said, and live cannot be, edited.
Absolutely.
Those are the things he was not happy about. Those were the things.
Alan,
Abhiru, sorry, I have a question for Alan. Can I ask him?
yeah, absolutely, you can.
Okay, Alan, you had gone back to Geelong and investigated and tried communicating with Gaurav.
Yes.
I want to know your experience in Geelong while communicating with Gaurav and what happened there.
So my plan was, as you know, I asked you to record some phrases in Hindi for me. That they were my trigger object, basically. I figured that if he had questions from someone that he knew in his own language, it might help facilitate communication with him a little bit better. So I played those few phrases. I mean, some of them were silly. One of them was the word potato, which means absolutely nothing to anyone except to the cast of Haunting Australia, because it was an ongoing joke that we had during the 5 weeks that we filmed. So I played them, and there wasn't really a reaction. Sometimes you have to go back and listen to recordings to pick up if there's a voice or anything going on that you can't audibly hear. But what was really strange was that particular night, and this is covered in the book, so I won't give away all the details, but there were two psychics there, they weren't friends of mine at the time. I knew of them, but they came along to investigate that night. And they pulled me aside very late in the evening, and we were actually standing right where Gaurav had taken that famous photo in Geelong Jail of what looks like a guard. So we were standing almost in the exact spot he had taken it. And they started asking me questions about his passing, things that I knew about because I had spoken to his parents. And these are things that weren't out in the public. And I asked just randomly, if he is here, and he can't hear me, but he can hear you because they were psychics, could he pull my hair? And as I asked the question, something went like that to my hair. And that made me get ran. And there was literally no one behind me. The nearest person was probably 2 meters away. We were standing quite some distance. And I, being the skeptic I am, I said, "Can you do it again?" And it happened again on cue. And that and a few other little things. I asked a few questions that only Gaurav would know, that from conversations we had discussing cases and arguments we had about cases, because we did argue about things, and they were spot on every single time. And that just blew my mind, because he was, it confirmed for me that he was definitely there at that point in time. And as I said, it is covered in the book, probably not in huge amount of detail, because there's some things that just don't need to be out in the public. And there were a lot of private conversations that I had with him that will probably never be out in the public, discussing cases and all kinds of things. But yeah, it was a very, very interesting experience.
Meghna, you and Siddharth also tried to call Reverend Gaurav Tiwari after he passed away. It's mentioned in the book as well. Could you give an insight on it?
Yeah, so it was, I think, a few days, maybe a couple of days after his birthday, we decided to go to this location, and we had actually no intention of communicating with him. We said, let's just do this on his birthday and see what happens. But his birthday did not, I don't know what happened during that day. We did not quite get to go there. So we did it after a few days, and we were trying to go live from that location, which did not happen because our equipment was, our phones were not working, strangely. So I don't know, just out of the blue, we were like, Siddharth and I decided, okay, let's try it out and see what happens. So the main thing what we wanted to do was just check and see whether can spirits travel this far, you know. They may have passed in a different location. They may have an emotional attachment to a different location. But if you call them to a place where they have never ever been, would they come and communicate? That was the whole idea. So I said, let's try something new and see. So he's like, let's try and communicate with Gaurav and see what happens. So we started to call out to him, and I mean, it was just amazing that, you know, suddenly our tri-field meter just went berserk. Just the needle just kept going up and down, and suddenly there was. So Siddharth saw this. The doors and the windows were closed of that particular house. It was a very broken down house, and the doors and windows, whatever was left of it, was closed. And suddenly Siddharth saw this bright white light outside the door. And he just told me, look, there's this white light, this is bright light there outside. And I saw it through the gap between the door and the threshold. I saw that light from there. So we were like, okay, maybe somebody's out there. Maybe there's passing traffic and something like that. So we went out to look if there was anybody there. We went and we asked the caretaker, did he come with his flashlight to check and see what we were doing and all? And we could not find anything. And the caretaker said, no, he never came there. So we just assumed, we were talking to Gaurav, and Gaurav was the kind of guy who used to love making a grand entrance everywhere, of course. So for us, it was Gaurav, because our equipment was going berserk already when we were trying to communicate with him. And then we see this, we just told him, okay, just show something that you are here. And there it was, that grand entrance that he always makes. That was it, the big bright flash of light that came by. And that was enough to broke down.
How was Gaurav as a person? Since you knew him so well, and you know, you were best friends, you still are best friends, you know. How was he as a person? How is he as a person? If I may rephrase the question. Raj.
Gaurav was very emotional person.
I felt
He was very emotional person. He was very trustworthy in comparison to many. He was like, I don't think he was made for entertainment industry. He was good in para, but I had seen, you know, I had seen lots of losses being damaged by entertainment industry to him, which I had already discussed with you on phone.
yes.
So he was not cunning kind of person. If he would have been cunning, I think he would have been alive today.
Very well said. It's got different layers. Your answer has got different layers, Raj. And you know, we can't talk about each and everything here, but
Even in night 2 o'clock, once I had some problem, he visited my house at 2 o'clock.
yes.
I think Gaurav was, like Raj said, Gaurav was always available. Always, at any given point of time, he was available. And there's another part of Gaurav that a lot of people don't know. He was an extremely funny man. extremely funny. The jokes that he used to crack, and he had this knack of mimicking artists, especially Bollywood actors. And whatever time we spent with him was absolutely amazing. Uh, that's God. That was what Gaurav was for us.
So I have a question. The question is from me. Let me answer it. Then I'll come back to Raj, Meghna, and Alan. So the audience question is, Abhirup, as a writer's point of view, do you have any best part in this whole book? Thank you for this question. The whole book is very special for me. So the first day when I got in touch with IPS, I was working on another book, and it had a character which was a paranormal investigator, and I was like, fine, let me kind of do some research. Even fiction requires some research. I want the nuances of the character to be there, and I wanted to know a paranormal investigator. Wanted to talk to us, and the first name which came to my mind was Gaurav Tiwari, because I used to follow him once upon a time. So I got in touch with IPS, and there was Meghna, there was Raj, there was Siddharth, there was Rith, there was Mohan. We got in touch, and we kind of started working on this idea, because Meghna told me that there was never a book written on Gaurav Tiwari, and I was shocked. I was shocked for one whole minute. I was not aware of this. It was in 2016 that he passed away, and maybe we kind of forget people easily. We have a short memory if we talk about the common people. And I was shocked to know this, and that's when I started working on this book along with Meghna, Raj, Siddharth, Mohan, Rith, Indian Paranormal Society, Haunting Australia team, and I got Suhail on board as a lit agent who started representing it to various publishing houses. So the entire book is very, very, very special to me. But what is very special for me compared to each and every chapter is the fact that a non-believer became a believer because of one particular incident while training to be a commercial pilot in Florida. That itself is very exciting for me. How can a non-believer, someone who does not believe in ghosts and spirits, become a pioneer of paranormal investigation in the country? So this particular part, the introduction is actually the most important and the most exciting part for me, because we know in India people don't believe in ghosts and spirits, so people like to ridicule it. There are many who believe, there are many who have blind faith, and there are many who don't believe, and there are those who ridicule, and they make fun of it. And I'm sure the scenario is the same abroad. We cannot be prejudiced towards the Indian sentiment and society and the mentality here. But the point is that people don't believe and they like to ridicule it. And someone who is a non-believer becomes the pioneer of a movement. That itself is the most exciting part for me. So that's the answer to the question. I'd like to ask Raj a question, which was, kind of in my mind. And these are random questions. It's not structured. We have another 5 minutes, and would like to ask each one of you one question. Raj, one question for you. You have this very popular YouTube channel, which many people follow, and they religiously follow it. They're crazy about it. I've seen the followers. I've seen, the kind of craziness and passion with which they follow you. Many of the people have begun drawing parallels between Reverend Gaurav Tiwari's death and Sushant Singh Rajput's death. And maybe a reason is because you have a very important video which was out in your channel, and it had so many million views. I personally got 2 or 3 messages on my messenger, and I said that there are no parallels at all. These are 2 different deaths, 2 different scenarios completely. And I personally think that a controversy cannot run a book. It's the content which runs a book. What do you have to say about this, Raj?
Regarding Sushant Singh Rajput and Gaurav, I find them very similar to each other.
You think so?
Yeah, as I had heard about Sushant Singh Rajput, he was very kind person. He used to do charities, and he was very careful for kids. He used to attend educational institutes. But regarding death, I won't be able to answer on that. Related to Gaurav, yeah, as per police, that's a suicide. And Mumbai police says about SSR, that's a suicide. But it's very hard to say,
So there was a
regarding.
story about Reverend Gaurav Tiwari's death that, there was a black mark seen on his neck, and that's what he said before he passed away, that it happens when there is a demonic activity. What do you have to say about it? Because I have mentioned it in the book as well, and IPS refuses to come in because it is a supernatural and superstitious.
That image is, yeah, that image, that's only one image of his body, I think, that is available on internet, that has created lots of speculations. And as I had word with some, I mean to say, those forensic experts, few said that that happens if rope is very thin, and when the like person gets 5 or 6 hours, his body lies after 5 or 6 hours of his death. These are possible, but again he mentioned that that is very rare. So this is the whole thing I know about that, Mark.
Noted. There is an audience question. We just have 2 minutes left. So we'll do the book launch after this last question from the audience. We are asked, how soon can we expect the web series? I'll answer it because I do know about the progress. They're working on it. The scripting is in progress. And if you ask us, since we are also waiting for the web series, like so many others, it's going to happen soon. How soon we cannot say, maybe not this year, but very soon, sooner than most book adaptations happen. So there are so many book adaptations which do not see the light of day. This will, we are very confident about it, and my lit agent Suhail Mathur will vouch for this, right? So this is going to happen very soon, and it's going to be fabulous, because the kind of aesthetics the makers have is top notch. So looking forward to it as well. Let's wait. We are also waiting for it, and we are eagerly waiting for it. And we'll have a book launch now before the session is over. Alan does not have a book yet because it's been sent to him, but he's yet to receive it. We have our books. This is Ghost Hunter Gaurav Tiwari, published by Westland, represented by Suhail Mathur of the Book Bakers. It's out, guys. This released on 2nd September. And a week prior to that, it was pre-orders, and got a terrific response. We are glad it's being loved by everyone. The initial responses have poured in, and it's getting a solid 5 on 5 from everyone. So fabulous book, I believe. Please go, grab your copy, read the book, have fun. You get an insight on Gaurav Tiwari, the man, the phenomenon, the pioneer of paranormal investigation in India, and he still lives, and he's watching over us. We know it. The team here know it very well. Alan Tiller has called him even after his passing away. Meghna and Siddharth have called him. There are many who have tried to call him, and I think there are so many people he's helped when he lived, when he breathed. And one of them is Dr. Nandini Sinha Kapoor, who got a new way of life. It's been mentioned, he's helped her. It's been mentioned in the book as well. She's a doctor, and she's got a new way of life by communicating with her deceased husband because of Gaurav Tiwari. And we have also come to know from sources that she's also got her information that he is, there watching over us. So he's there. Ghosts do exist. It is more of a phase after death, and the entire, thing, what exactly happens after life. Is there life after death? Is there reincarnation? It's all mentioned in this book, and it's a very important book. And let me tell you guys, it's not myth. Like Gaurav Tiwari said, that if it's not proven, it's not proven. What is the quote, Meghna? If you could, kind of help me with this. There is a quote he's got, about superstition. And
Yeah, I'll have to check that up.
it was
It's
also
in the
out on the Westland site. So I'll just quote it because I just thought that this is the end this session. This quote is so important for all of us.
I'll have to check this and see.
Fabulous quote where he says that, Yes.
Yeah, he says this, yeah. Believing in ghosts is not superstition. Superstition is believing in anything in the absence of proof.
Right. Absolutely.
That's in the very beginning of the
Fabulous.
book. Yeah.
This is what it is. This is what we all believe in. It's a very scientific approach towards finding the
Yeah.
truth after death, and we need to be empathetic towards death. And there is life after death, and this book is about it. But it's also about busting supernatural myths, superstitious myths. Go read the book, grab your copy, and I believe this is how we end the session, unless there is a word from Vitlina or someone from Oxford. But I believe the session is done. And we had a great time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having us. Thank you.
Everyone, you people were fabulous. Thank you, Meghna. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Raj. Lovely. Thank you, Oxford. Thank you, Westland.
Thank you all who are watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
everyone
you.
for watching us and will watch us in the near future. Thank you.